What up? Kearns here with a VND VID, and if you IDK with a VND DOES, it's all G. A VND is this thing right here. Quick example, see my face? Dark, light. Pretty sweet. That's a simple visual of what the variable ND does, and there's a lot of creative things you can do with it, so I got together a content team to give you some tips. Actually, not together, like, that'd be illegal. You'll see it in a bit. Back in February, when we dropped our Moment ND filters, we released a 67, a 77, and an 82 millimeter. The launch went fantastic. In fact, we ran out in a few days and they all sold out. So thank you, and we're sorry for that. So now we have them back in stock, and the people have spoken and they demanded more sizes. We now have them in 58, 62, and 72. Anyways, that's all I got for this intro. I have to go out and shoot my variable ND tip, but all the homies on the content team, they've already shot their part, so as I drive out there, I'll roll their part, grab the popcorn, get cozy. See you in a bit.
Trying to figure out what I'm gonna say. Oh, and the light just changed so much. Okay, so now the light's changing again. All right, so for my tip, I'm here to talk to you all about how to get cinematic footage on your phone. Dude, this light is just... All right, sorry, Andrew, and fellow people watching this video. There must be clouds or something because the light is going crazy. Okay, I'm gonna start over. All right, what is up, everyone? So for my tip, I wanna talk to you about how to get cinematic footage on your phone. If you have ever seen a shot on iPhone, or any phone for that matter, video, and thought to yourself, how the freak? The main reason that those videos looked so dang good is because they are shooting a low shutter speed. It's gonna change again. Yep, pulling out. This light is tough. Okay, long story short, your shutter speed should always be double your frame rate. So a lot of times I shoot 24 frames per second, which means I need a shutter speed of 1/48. The reason, and bear with me here, is because that shutter speed is gonna mimic real life. So right now I'm waving my hand in front of my eyes. I want you to do this too. And you'll see that there's motion blur, basically in real life. So what that shutter speed is doing is just mimicking what you actually see in the real world. So right now I'm gonna do a quick demonstration and kind of show you what a cinematic shutter speed looks compared to a shutter speed that's just cranked to oblivion. All right, so for this demonstration, I'm gonna use the filter mount. So I'm just kind of screwing this on. Cool, I'm gonna get my chair. The coolest thing about this studio is you just get to like roll around kind of fast. So right now I'm in 4K 24. I'm gonna go set my ISO to the lowest possible ISO, so it's not noisy. Set my shutter speed to 1/48, and then I'm gonna lock my white balance too, because that's just, you know, gotta lock that ish. And then I'm gonna set my ND to like an ND4 because it's pretty dark, and then I'm gonna wave my hand. So it's not really cinematic because it's just my hand, but you'll see the motion blur. Now I'm gonna take the ND off. Sketch, no ND, feels so wrong. And then I'm gonna crank my shutter to kind of the similar shutter speed. And you'll see it. Now it looks horrible. It looks so weird. It just looks fake. Science, love it. Now, the problem with shooting on phones is that you have a locked aperture. So in order to adjust your settings to properly expose your image during the daytime, you just have to crank your shutter. Now, what an ND filter is that it's just gonna cut the light that gets to your camera on your phone. So it's basically like sunglasses for the sensor on your camera. This right here is the filter mount, and it fits a 67 millimeter thread. And what you're gonna do with this is just put this directly over your phone's native camera lenses. So I have an iPhone 11 Pro. You'll see I have these 3 lenses. Just pop this bad boy right over. So basically what you have right here is you're able to shoot on any lens of your phone and get a cinematic shutter speed. Next, we also have a moment filter mount, which works directly over one of your moment lenses. So if you have some moment lenses, you wanna get that butter, then you're gonna wanna check out the filter mount and our ND filter 62 millimeters. So here we have, right here, you have our anamorphic lens, you have our 62 millimeter filter. You just mount it on and you're good to go. This wasn't as much of a tip as it was just please use an ND filter. You won't regret it. I use them for every single one of my iPhone films. I'll pass it over to the next tip, the next person. Thanks. Use an ND filter on your phone, please. Whoa.
All right, so we're talking variable ND filters. Boom, back in stock now on our website. Check them out, new sizes. Yeah, so techniques, hopefully you've learned something so far in this video from the other techniques, but my tip, my technique, my hack, whatever you wanna call it, is actually the draggy video effect, as I like to call it. But basically I'll use this for transitions or more artsy looking filler stuff, title screens, kind of that mixed media vibe, but basically you're shooting your shutter speed lower than double the frame rate, if that makes sense. So I would shoot, this is 24 frames per second, I would shoot at 1/48th of a shutter speed, control my exposure with my variable ND and aperture, but for this effect, I would actually turn that shutter speed lower than 1/48th. So 1/10th, 1/15th, maybe 1/24th shutter speed. And then what that does is give you a really cool, really blurry look. So everything's kind of streaky and draggy. It's a fun technique, don't overuse it, but for certain things, it actually looks really rad. So I'll put some footage in right now of shots that I've got with that. But you'll want an ND filter, variable ND filter ideally, so that your exposure is controlled so you can go out in the daytime, still shoot with this draggy look, because that's gonna let a lot of light into your sensor. So controlling that in your set, enjoy the tip. Bye.
What is up, everybody? Taylor here with another variable ND tip. The more you learn about variable NDs, the more you see that NDs are really talked about in the context of filmmaking most of the time. You're not gonna hear it come up with a lot of photographers or really in photography conversations, but it does not mean that they are not useful in photography. So I want to show you how slapping on this beautiful variable ND filter onto my Canon 5D Mark IV will allow me to shoot at a shallow depth of field in broad daylight to get these really fun, blurry portraits. Because of how bright it is, without the ND filter, I would have to shoot at a smaller or narrower depth of field, say like f12, f16, but I prefer portraits taken at a wider aperture. I love to shoot wide open when possible, and that is what the ND is going to allow you to do. It is going to block a lot of this really harsh light, and I can keep my aperture at a 2.8. Basically, I wouldn't be able to get this look without this bad boy. Although it is not essential, it does open up a whole new world of possibilities in your photos.
Hey guys, Mike here to share with you one of my favorite tips about using variable ND filters. I think the difference between kind of amateur looking time lapses and some professional ones is having a really low shutter speed, and in order to do that you need to use variable ND filters. There are some people out walking and things, and there are some cars, so I am recording a time lapse right now. So I'm gonna record one at like 1/400 right now, which is as low as I can get without putting on a variable ND filter. And then I'm gonna record another one here in a second with the shutter speed of like 1/4. Essentially that lower shutter speed, the lower I get it, the more drag there will be and like the smoother it looks. You can play with the number a little bit. I really like the way that 1/4 looks, but you can't get your camera that low without putting a variable ND filter on. So also, what's really, really cool, if you guys use the Moment Pro camera app, and you can actually drag the shutter speed in that and make it look really nice and smooth too. So little pro tip, check out the Pro camera app and check out that feature. It's like a built-in ND filter. So yeah.
I'm back. Thank you, Moment Content Team, for all those practical and creative ways to use a VND. I have one last tip for you, and the subject is water. So let's get it. So as they say, save the best for last, and I apologize in advance because I don't really know what I'm doing here. A lot of this is just guesswork, but essentially I'm trying to get a slow shutter of the water with a mountain backdrop, a nice little slow shutter landscape. I pulled it off a couple times and it looked fine. Kind of similar to Taylor's idea, but not with a person as a subject. It's really bright out today. This lighting is like the bane of my existence, but we'll make it work. So the landscape stuff came out decent. I'm really just guessing and hoping it turns out right. To try to dodge the bad lighting, I decided to try a few lifestyle shots, some close-in ones. It came out kind of cool, but you get the gist of it. It creates a different look and feel to the water that it is pointing toward and slow shuttering. That's a verb. That is it, my dudes. So as you can see, the VNDs open a variety of different creative options. And like Niles explained, there are many practical reasons to get them too. So if you missed out in February, we now got them back in stock. And if we didn't have your size, we might have your size now. So get yours today at the Shop Moment website. And that's it, my dudes. Deuces. And I don't have anything else actually. Oh wait, actually, sorry, I do have something else. The phone filter mount as well as the Moment lens filter mount. We've always carried the lens filter mount in our shop, but it was kind of a process to get the variable NDs that we stocked attached to it. Now that we stock a 62mm variable ND filter, you just buy the filter mount and then the variable ND, the 62, will screw right into it. Capiche? And we just recently came out with a 67mm filter mount for just the native phone lenses. Like Niall showed you, you just screw it onto your phone, and now you have the ability to throw on any 67mm threaded filters onto the front of your native camera lenses. So if you wanted to get that VND on the front of those, just get a 67 in the filter mount and bada bop boom pow, you're good to go. All right, that's for real. That's all for real. Bye.